This is a $20 computer that I bought off Facebook Marketplace. We're going to play some games, see how it performs, and just see how it runs in 2024. I tried to get this computer working in a previous video. If you want to watch that, hit the little eye in the corner. But I tried fixing this up and I tried getting her to work and I cleaned her up a lot. She's still really dirty, but I got her cleaned a bit and I did get her to boot, just not into the Windows 7 that was on the hard drive, and then I tried installing a Windows 10 hard drive and that wouldn't install either. And I didn't have a USB at that time to boot Windows onto, but that's what we're going to try to do today. I've already tried, this is like my third video attempt, because I've tried to put a new motherboard in this system, but that motherboard was not operating. So I have the old one back in here. I took the graphics card out, and I believe that I took the RAM out and I put it into another system because it was only two 2GB sticks. But today, we're going to try to restore her and try to get her working, installed with Windows 10, and we're going to try to get her to play some games because there's an i7 in here. Let's start that, shall we? The first thing I wanted to do was clean the case fan. This was really dirty. I just wiped down the case fan with paper towels and isopropyl alcohol, and it looks okay. I hooked up the fan and now we're ready to move on. The next thing I wanted to hook up was the hard drive. We have a 1TB Seagate hard drive, and I know I should have probably installed an SSD, but I didn't have one with me at the time of this recording. I decided to go for four 4GB sticks of SK Hynix 1600 MHz DDR3 RAM. I know that this computer is clocked at 1333 MHz, but I'd rather have that than only one stick of 8GB. The graphics card that I'm throwing in here is a GTX 745, and I'm going to take it apart and replace the thermal paste and just make sure it's working. Look at that old thermal paste. Good thing we're going to clean her up, make her look nice, and get her going. This was going to be footage of me installing the graphics card, but of course I had to cover the camera. Now that it's all built, let's go see if it works. I go to power on the computer, and nothing. Of course it wouldn't work. My first assumption is that since the side plate is off, maybe it's not allowing it to power on. But even with the plate on, it's still not connecting to the monitor. The next step in my thought process was to try a different graphics card. This is a GT 630 1GB, and we're going to throw this in and hopefully it works. Surprise, surprise, it did not. On to the next step. I know some people mentioned how I needed to replace the CMOS battery, so I'm going to do that. I know the RAM is working, so that cannot be an issue. Moment of truth. And finally, we got it to boot. I threw in the other graphics card just to make sure that it works, and it did. I am getting this error message, but that's actually because I forgot to install one of the sensors for the air temperatures. So I installed that. I didn't record it, but it's installed and that problem's solved. So let's get Windows 10 uploaded. I have a USB with Windows 10 installed onto it. I know this computer had issues booting from the hard drive, so I'm praying that this works. I'm going to plug it into one of the back USB ports, and let's see if we can get it running. I went to the BIOS settings to make sure the USB was first priority on boot, and luckily it started. I had an issue where none of the drives were able to download Windows onto them, so I had to look up online what the issue was and how to fix it. It was a pretty simple fix. Once I had that solved, it was just a matter of downloading Windows and getting this started. It is the next day. It took me so long to download all the drivers, updates, everything. To be fair, this probably needs an SSD, and we're going to go over the price at the end, but I'm updating Steam right now, getting all download, hopefully going to transfer my games from my other hard drive, and we're going to see how this performs. Before we get into the gaming, I do want to do basic web browsing and I want to watch some YouTube videos. So right here, we're just going on some random websites, went on some news, and I went on Instagram, or at least tried to. But just see how it does basic web browsing, and I was having issues with my Wi-Fi driver this whole time. The Wi-Fi adapter that I put onto the computer via the back is just a simple TP-Link one. It just wouldn't render, and I don't know if it was because of my Wi-Fi or just because of the adapter itself. So I'm hoping it was my Wi-Fi, and hopefully this issue doesn't happen again for any time in the future. YouTube was unplayable at 1080 and 720p. Like I said, it has to do with that Wi-Fi adapter or my Wi-Fi. I know for sure that this computer can handle basic 1080p and maybe even 4K. The first game that we have is Grand Theft Auto 4 at 1080p medium settings. This ran really well. I know that GTA 4 isn't the best optimized game, but I was averaging 46 FPS and I was still hitting 60. I think this ran pretty well. I've seen this game run horrible on really high-end systems. So the next game that we have is Left 4 Dead 2 at 1080p high settings. This played really amazing. I mean, it's an older game. I expected it to play really well. It plays really well even on my laptop, so I had no worries about this. We were hitting over 100 FPS most of the time with an average of 77 FPS. The next game that we have is Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. We're running the benchmark, and this plays better than even my personal computer. I've been playing this game a lot recently, and this plays even better on this with higher settings. So I'm really surprised of it. We got an average of 61 FPS. Up next, we have Terraria at 1080p high settings. This ran at just under 60 FPS, right at 59 FPS, but we were getting highs of 62 and only a low of 47, so this was a pretty consistent and smooth gameplay. I would really recommend this game to anyone. This is a bit of a newer game, Brawlhalla 1080p normal settings, and this played really well. I was getting an average of 57 FPS, and I was actually able to win this online match. This is really playable, and for how new it is, I'm really surprised with how well it ran and how smooth it was. The last game we'll be testing is Minecraft Java Edition 1.20 on 1080p fast settings and 8 to 12 distance. This ran alright. I probably would set the max FPS to 60 just to limit it, because when you're generating new world chunks, it's a bit slow. I would have liked to play more games. None of my games on the Epic Game Store would download, and as saw previously, we were having issues with my Wi-Fi adapter. So I wanted to play Fortnite and I wanted to play more games, but either A, I don't have the game, or B, it just wouldn't download. Like, all of my Steam games luckily were able to transfer because I just plugged in my personal hard drive that has all my games on it. So I was able to test some of the games. I do plan to get an SSD that has a bunch of Steam games on it that's made purely for benchmarking, because I would have loved to play other games on this. Like, I know this can run Fallout 76 and this can run Fortnite at least. So I wanted to try it, and I'm bummed out that I couldn't. Now we're going to talk about the price. So we were able to buy this PC that came with this monitor and a keyboard, but I didn't really use that, for $20. And then I took out the RAM, power supply, and graphics card, and I put in a new power supply. I got the power supply and hard drive from a trade, and I got those about 75 cents each, which is really good. And I would break that down, but in my last video, I talked about how I break down the stuff I buy and see how much I got each component at. And I like doing that. You know, it's simple math. It's a little fun to just mess with numbers and stuff and to do that. That RAM, I bought a bundle of 10 sticks for $20, so that came to about $2 each. So that's $8 for the RAM. I got the graphics card for $20 off of Facebook Marketplace. That was actually one of the first computer parts that I bought because I thought it would fit into my $140 gaming PC. That was my first ever video, but it did not. So I threw it in here. You know, if I threw an SSD in here, this would be a perfect computer, and I feel like the Wi-Fi solution would be fixed a little bit. I feel like Windows is just a little slow running on this hard drive, because I can definitely hear the hard drive spinning in there. It's right behind me. The total price of this build comes out to $49.50, which is amazing. I mean, I have a $50 computer that can play a lot of games. Like I said, I wanted to show way more in this video, but I couldn't. But just keep in mind that I'm going At some point, I'm going to be able to show all the games, even some recent games. But like I said, even when my computer can't even run some of the games, gives me less motive to buy it. But I'm definitely looking into this summer when the Steam summer sale comes around, like it does every year. I'm definitely going to be dropping a lot of money on games to benchmark, games to test. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below and subscribe if you're new. If you want to see more content like this, I plan to do way more builds and way more stuff. I have a lot of ideas for stuff I want to do. But I'll catch you guys later. See ya.